so happy we alive.
Good evening, and welcome to Louisville Late Night. This evening we're in beautiful San Francisco, California.
War on drugs and the criminal justice system is not the proper way to deal with drugs in our society. I think that is ultimately the crossover message. That is the message that unites normal and all of us with the people in recovery. That's what unites us with the drug treatment world. When the drug treatment world was, most of my people started with pot, and that's why they're here now, we're the ones who say, look, maybe, maybe not. But do you think that the war on drugs and the criminal justice system is the right way to go? And if they answer yes, then what you say to them is that you are betraying the most fundamental principles of medical privacy, medical ethics, and believing that the criminal justice system has a role to play in dealing with people's health like this. And if you don't think that the criminal justice system has a role to play, then whether you like pot or you hate pot, you are fundamentally with us. I think that this movement can keep growing that way, and I think that's what's ultimately going to empower us. When we had the conference, the Drug Policy Alliance, and all the allied organizations in Long Beach in November, 800 people there, the audience was diverse. From all around the world, there you had, people, African Americans, Latinos who had struggled with drug addiction, who had found God, and they were there. You had cops in recovery from the drug war, LEAP, and they were there. Right? You had marijuana, it was all there. It was coming together. Our issues intersecting with libertarian movements and racial justice movements and public health movements, all coming together. Vigorous debates among ourselves, but understanding that there's a bottom line that we all fundamentally care about. That, I believe, is the future of this movement, and it is in that context that marijuana prohibition is going to come to an end in this society. Now, I want to say one last thing. There's something that my colleagues and I are just about at the point of declaring. But I think what Drug Policy Alliance is going to try to do at the end of this year is pull together some great big little event in San Francisco. Because the time is right. It's interesting, and here I'm just speaking very personally and organizationally, but 1996. Some of this was about my colleagues. It was about Marcia Rosenbaum creating the Linda Smith Center in San Francisco, our first branch office, because working with the mayors and the civil authorities, because this was, the Amsterdam of America. Right? This was the place at the cutting edge. It was my colleague Dan Abramson also joining me in 1996. Dan so pivotally involved in drafting Prop 36, in defending the medical marijuana cases, and working with Graham Boyd and the ACLU on the case to defend the First Amendment rights of doctors and patients to talk about this. And of course, it will also be the 10th anniversary of when Prop 215 was passed. None of us could have imagined or envisioned. In 1995, this was a pipe dream. It was a pipe dream. We didn't know that other states and what a dozen other states would be having this now. It was a pipe dream, and we made it happen. We stepped out for the first time in the major leagues of American politics, and we showed we could win this. And when the other side threw everything they had against us, congressional hearings and the media, everything else, we came back. And when they tried to go to court, we came back there too. Probably the nicest contribution I ever got in my life was a check for $350,000 from the Drug Czar's office, reimbursing us for attorney's fees. We'll know by the time we have this what's going to happen in these midterm elections. We'll know if we can look for a little more hope and progress in Washington at that time. We'll know then. But we won't know what the world or our world is going to look like 10 years from now. All we will know is that our chances of success will depend upon our growing as a movement and simultaneously growing as human beings who try to bring out the best in all ourselves and in one another in fighting for reason, justice, compassion, and human rights. Thank you.
true. What's going on in San Francisco is very special. I think that we might even be able to declare it America's cannabis capital. It's like the earthquake of 1906, but this is sort of like the marijuana quake of 2006, rippling out from the epicenter. Folks, we've got a lot more coming up today. I see this ocean of green over here. Where is everyone wearing green from? Yeah. University of Central Florida. Y'all kind of look like a sports team. A bowling team, no doubt.
Oh, they're a team.
A bowling team? No. No, okay. We have a slight change to our schedule. I've been told that we're going to go into something that is not listed on the green little inserts that you have in your conference packets there. Our next panel is about cannabis dispensaries and their carrying capacities. So if people who are speaking on that panel would like to come up at this time, we'll get this started in just a moment here. But many of us know for his work on medical marijuana, taking it not only to his community, but in fact all the way to the Supreme Court. He is co-founder and a named defendant for the Oakland Cannabis Buyers Cooperative, and his office will also be assisted.
Cannabis Buyers Club that was run by Dennis Burns, and knew that I had to change things, what I was going to be doing in the near future. And the era, the smell in the air was of change, but I knew that what was happening in San Francisco may not be able to be replicated in other cities across America. Being from the Midwest, I grew up in South Dakota, I didn't think what Dennis was doing in San Francisco would be able to be done in the Midwest. And I soon embarked on a path that changed my life in Oakland, setting up a dispensary that was a model for being conservative and well-run and focused on a path of changing the way that it's looked at in our local community. And as Ethan put it so distinctly, institutionalizing what we wanted to see in the future and what we wanted to create in what our environment and our community is built on. And the panelists that I have here today have looked into that issue and have want to describe their own ways what it means to them. The first one that we have up is Amanda Penick, and she's from UC Berkeley.
School of Social Welfare, and I'll actually be receiving my PhD 3 weeks from tomorrow. Very excited. Been in college for 10 years, so it's a long time coming. And I decided to do my dissertation research on medical cannabis facilities in the San Francisco Bay Area. And the reason I decided to do that was kind of threefold. I felt like I was really in a unique position to do this kind of research, and as Ethan Nadelman so eloquently put it before, start to legitimize what was going on in some of these facilities in San Francisco, so that when other states that have passed medical marijuana legislation wanted to open up the same kind of facilities to protect their patients from having to go and get their medicine on the black market, we could develop some kind of model of best practice so that we could take it on the road, so to speak, and start to develop other facilities utilizing and preserving what has really come out of Dennis Peron's movement in the Social Model Club here in San Francisco. So again, the three reasons I decided to get into this was that, one, I'm a patient myself. So moving out here from Chicago in 2002, I was really impressed with what was going on in the movement, and I thought that it was something that really needed to be shared. And I was also kind of tired of the news stories that talked about medical cannabis dispensaries, because they always show the same picture, either a really large bag of weed or somebody smoking out of the exact same pipe. I think they've been using that same shot and that same pipe for like 3 or 4 years. And what I was seeing was very different. I was seeing support, and I was seeing patients who were ill getting a lot of camaraderie from each other, and I was seeing products being sold like books and magazines and t-shirts, and I was seeing activism being generated in these facilities, and that's what I wanted to get out to the public. And I thought that if we could demystify a bit what was going on and really show the positive things that were coming out of this movement, then maybe when we wanted to go develop a facility system in, say, Montana, or one of the